After all that.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Sugar. Debbie. Today, Debbie and I will be discussing with you Roseanne, season 10, episode 3. It's the return of Roseanne. Hello, Debbie, first and foremost.
Hello, Sir Dacob.
Guys, look how wonderful Debbie looks incredible. She told me she's channeling her Isabella Cellini, and I say she nailed it completely.
And Dacob is fab. And we both have a Dolce & Gabbana theme. Last week was Moschino. This week we're doing Dolce.
We're kind of Dolce & Gabbana. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just channeling Roseanne's jacket from last week, but it just so happens to be a D&G piece. So anyway, guys, okay, let's talk about this Roseanne. Both Debbie and I, if I may say so, were super excited because our childhood memories were brought back when Roseanne was announced to return. We were thrilled about it. We were so happy that we planned, weeks ahead. What are we going to do? We're going to live stream it together because it's really a passion of ours. We were raised on this show and
huge passion.
And we just enjoyed both the memory, the passion, the love for it, but also just the idea of something not just being rebooted, but a continuation of a story 20 years later. And the wonderful thing about it was that we thought it's just going to be very intelligent written comedy. Then the first 2 episodes last week hit, and it's an enormous for Roseanne episode 1 and 2, and both. And all of a sudden, both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, started to politicize this poor show completely. Both parties started using it for their own means and purposes, either criticizing it for their reasons, for their own good, or praising it for their own good, appropriating the show for themselves as if they were the ones who created it. In other terms, other political parties with other agendas would tear it to shreds and bits and pieces. But I have the feeling that none of these people, not one single person, and I'm not going to say, I just want to say some really nasty words, but I'm not going to. None of them watched the show. None of them, because had any one of them really watched the episodes from beginning to end, they would have seen that a certain president is not even mentioned. The name isn't even mentioned. Yes, it's all played upon. Yes, all of these names are floating there. But there's so much more than just that. There's so much more. There's emotion. There's a family that's being torn apart, not just by politics, but a family that's being torn apart by growing pains. There's a teenager there as well with a lot of issues. There are grandparents with issues, both health issues, but also issues within the family, fights that are not just on a political level. There's so much that is actually beautifully approached, and they touch base on it from so many different perspectives so that it's never just one point of view. And this is what Debbie and I loved so much. And I'm speaking also for Debbie here because she told me, Dacob, please go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to get upset when it gets to the political issue. So what I want to say is, if you guys, just like Debbie and me, love Roseanne for what it is, nothing political, but a comedy, a sitcom that touches base on all of the issues that a life has within its lifespan and this world. And unfortunately, politics is also part of it. But if you're into this show for what it really is, then tune into our live streams every week after every episode airs, because we don't want to do this politically. This is that we don't want to. And God damn it, I'm not going to let them. I'm not going to let them take Roseanne away from me like that. You know what I mean?
No, that infuriated me. And Dacob knows this. The first episode was the only one that had anything to do with politics. And I feel like the media and others, and even a network I watch in news media, yes, they were. I don't think they saw the second episode. I really don't. I think they just saw the first one, and then they started digging through Roseanne's ex-tweets and everything else, and I just can't believe what it turned into. something that brought us so much joy and then had to turn into this politicized disaster. But we are thrilled, we must say, that they have already announced after that one airing, there will be a season 2.
Yay! We are super thrilled that season 2 is coming our way. They might still change their mind. You never know, because who knows how much all of this political damage can actually damage the future of the show. But for now, I mean, 23 million ratings for the opening is amazing. And the fact that they've announced the continuation of it is great. I do believe it's going to happen. I'm wondering how the numbers will be for episode 3. But before we get into episode 3, I have a couple of things. I wrote them down in my little notebook.
And I have my pen. We had to see, here is my pen and paper, but it didn't work out that I was able to. Technical difficulties, children.
Don't worry, I got you covered. So first and foremost, let's do a little bit of errata corrige, which means the mistakes last week.
Yeah.
We do apologize for, first of all, Sarah. Oh God, Chalk. What's her name? Sarah Chalk.
Yes, Sarah Chalk.
Her is Andrea, Andrea. We totally messed that one up, so it's Andrea. Sorry, Sarah. Beverly Harris. Oh my God. Okay, so first of all, Estelle Margaret Parsons.
From Massachusetts.
From Massachusetts. Estelle, we are so sorry to have kind of labeled you as gone. You are not gone. You are here.
She's 90 years old. She'll be
90 years old.
She'll be 91 in November.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I saw that little snippet of the Beverly character in the new show. She looks younger than she did 20 years ago, and she's 90. So I am so looking forward to see her return. And so apologies for that, but we're thrilled that Beverly will be back. She wasn't in episode 3, but she will be back.
Adjustomatic, yes. Craftmatic adjustable bev. I finally remembered the whole term.
Wait, how is the whole term?
Craftmatic adjustable bev.
Craftmatic adjustable bev.
Yes.
Jesus Louises. All right, and then Sandra Bernard. This wasn't a mistake, but Nancy Bartlett's character, as Sandra gave in an interview statement that she will be back as a guest star this season in the last episode. Nana Mary, played by Shelley Winters. Shelley Winters passed away in 2006, so will not be back. At least will not be back acted by Shelley Winters, but as we know, since Becky got another actress back in the day who's now acting as Andrea, maybe Nana Mary will get somebody else to act her, although there's been speculation that Roseanne might not want to act. Well, it would mean that Nana Mary would be a great-grandmother. Beverly's a great-grandmother. No, great-great-grandmother. Beverly would be a great-grandmother. Roseanne would be a grandmother. Darlene would be a mother. And Harris would be the daughter. So that would be really very rare to see a great-great-grandmother in a show. So that would have made kind of things a bit more complex. But I don't know. I don't think Nana Mary's coming back. Crystal Anderson.
Dan had two mothers during the initial show.
That they changed from one mom to, but didn't she? Oh, now I'm getting confused again. But she was in a mental institution. She passed away, didn't she?
Debbie Reynolds, I believe, played.
Debbie Reynolds. Yes, but she was totally cuckoo. She wanted to kill Dan.
Yes. I think that he had another mother in the earlier episodes. And I've got to turn this down because something's going on.
And I have to. Well, and as we know, Debbie Reynolds passed away right after. After her daughter passed away. That's another tragic story. So let me see if I can see the chat, because I don't see the chat, obviously.
I can see the chat. We have Isaac Villalba. Hi, Dada Dacob. So happy to see you. Farah Robin saying hi. Melinda, hi guys. Loving your leopardness. Sean effing Pablo. I love your vibes. Melinda saying hi, Debbie. Hello, Melinda. Sean effing Pablo. Could you do a Saint Laurent video? No, this is Roseanne. And Melinda thought the political part was funny. James Brackenberry says he hasn't seen number 3. They hope it's worth it. And let's see. Melinda hasn't seen it either. And they're both West Coast. And then I am lovely and glamorous. Well, thank you, Melinda. And Gail just showed up. Hello, Gail. Welcome to our chat.
Hi, Melinda. Hi, everybody. Hi, James.
And that catches us up, I think.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you, Debbie. So, guys, let me get into the episode, what I wrote down in episode 3. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episode yet, go watch it before you listen to us blabber on about it. Mm-hmm. I have several titles online. One was Roseanne's Clash with Darlene. That's what ABC channel stated as title for the show. But then also I read, now interesting to note, it, the episode begins with Roseanne trying to kind of clean up. We see that she's annoyed because she has to clean up behind Harris. Harris is her granddaughter throughout the house, and she's quite annoyed. And then we notice that she wants to go up the stairs, and Dan says, look, I finally installed this chair, which has a name, Easy Climb. The Easy Climb chair. Now, we don't see any of the construction of this chair in episode 1. But we see it in episode 2. It just appears magically in episode 2, but they don't mention it. So I don't know if it was a mistake. And now in episode 3, it's still there. Dan does say that he was trying to make it work since some time. So maybe chronologically speaking, that would fit in that would be a reason why the metal the skeleton of the chair was already visible in episode 2, but it could be a mistake. I'm not so sure about that. So anyway, we get a lot of puns and jokes with Roseanne of not wanting to be old because she thinks it's being old and accepting getting old by sitting down in this easy climb, the chair that kind of guides you from ground floor up to the first floor. And it's very slow moving. So there's a lot of jokes that are being spilled in terms of the chair. However, why does she want to get upstairs as soon as possible? Because she wants to yell at Harris, because Harris has been pretty disrespectful towards Roseanne, Dan, the entire household, and also in the show. Harris is the teenager girl. She's 15 years old. She looks older, though, and she's much taller than Darlene. I'm still not really digging the casting here of Harris, but we'll get to that maybe later. And jokes that were said, you know, Harris is purchasing secondhand clothes, vintage clothes, and then reselling them on Etsy. Roseanne doesn't get Etsy, calls it Betsy. So Darlene, discussing with Roseanne about bum clothes, says, apparently it's cool to be poor now. And to that, Roseanne responds, it's all fun and games till you have to reuse your diabetes needles. So that's kind of one of those, bam, that slaps you in the face right there, then and there. That really tells us again the economical situation this family is in and how much they understand really what does it mean to deal with not having money. Roseanne does mention in the episode something very important as well. She mentions that they still do not own the house. The house that they were living in 20 years ago in the 90s, they still did not pay it off. So the house does still not belong to them. Like, that's how desperate.
I think they had to get a second mortgage because of the bike shop. So that's probably why it's not paid off.
Yeah. Political momentum there. It's very hidden. I have to admit, because I'm a very analytical person, and you know I tend to see all details. The center of the episode rotates around the dryer and the washing machine, and the fact that Harris, because she's purchasing so many clothes, she keeps washing them. Hence, she occupies the washing machine and the dryer. So Roseanne and Becky nobody else can wash their clothes anymore. So Roseanne says that she's reduced to wearing rice paper and something else as underwear. I don't know, something really awkward.
It was like a fig leaf. It was, yeah, we don't want to go there. It was something. We don't want to go there.
But so she does mention the fact that, washing machine dryer, and then they end up in the actual, what would you call that room? It's not the washing room, but it's kind of like a back storage room to the exit of the house into it's the
back entryway. Let's see, a utility room, I would call it. Well, we would call it, I guess. I don't know.
But anyway, there's a lot of hats and caps hanging there, and one of them is "Make America Great Again."
I didn't see that. Well, I was watching it.
You know me, I'm very detail oriented.
I will watch it again.
It's there. So, but there are a lot of other hats hanging there as well. There was a blue one with Bernie Sanders when he was, I don't know if there's like more of them hanging there, but the red one really pokes out. So, but that was it. Nobody mentioned anything. It was just hanging there. Roseanne starts fighting with Harris. Now, this was a very aggressive tone when Harris really kind of calls her grandma names, and that was painful to watch. It was also painful how physical Roseanne got with Harris and how she kind of dumped her head to the sink and just flushed water all over her. Roseanne tells her, "You're smart for a kid, but you're still dumb for a person." I really like that one. That really explains a lot, like Roseanne's understanding of what a child does, the mistakes a child does. And basically the whole episode, Roseanne is observing Darlene making mistakes, educating her kid. But Dan makes a very interesting point there by saying, when Darlene was little, Dan and Roseanne could play good cop, bad cop. They could always kind of switch. One parent could be the good parent, one could be the bad parent. But Darlene is alone. She's raising her child alone, and she doesn't want to always be the bad cop. Mm-hmm. So I understand also Darlene's point in trying to really kind of flow over things by addressing issues as, okay, you're a teenager, you're 15 years old, but I want to trust you. I want you to see that I'm trusting you, that I'm treating you as a grown-up. It doesn't always work out. They move from Chicago to this little tiny city, and Harris does not have any friends. She's really, really annoyed in Chicago, is selling used clothes and also stolen clothes. Now, we don't know if she doesn't say she stole them. She says her friends stole them.
I heard that before in junior high.
What?
I said, I heard that story before in junior high.
Oh, okay. Maybe she did steal the stuff. We don't know, but it doesn't matter at this point. Roseanne catches a sweater of Harris's that still has a security tag on it. So that's how the jig is up, as Jackie would say. And they uncover the plot line, basically, that Harris has been lying to them. So, of course, she gets grounded. Darlene tries to make a deal with her and says, listen, if you're still miserable after 3 years, you can go back to Chicago. And then Harris says, wait a minute, in 3 years, I'll be 18. So I can do whatever I want anyway. And then Darlene says, oh, okay, you figured it out. You're smarter than I thought. We have vegetables being dealt for dinner, and Darlene is kind of brushing them with a plastic brush. And Roseanne asks, what's that? Darlene says, it's a brush to brush vegetables. And then, Roseanne drops a joke and says, okay, you want to eat some washed vegetables to Harris because Harris is leaving. She wants to go not to the diner. Where does Harris want to go to meet her friends?
She wants to go out with her friends. And I don't think they were specific, were they?
No, they were specific because Jackie makes a joke later on and says, oh, yeah, I heard that place.
Oh, it was a drive-in. That's right. Some kind of drive-in where Jackie...
She was dating a guy from the drive-in, and he would always give her free things. And then she thought about it twice, and she said, "Oh no, they were not for free."
Maybe it was Dairy Queen. Queen.
Yes, the Dairy Queen. And Jackie had to pay in nature to get all the sweets when she was teeny.
Favors.
Roseanne says you can't trust her kids because they are stupid. Oh, and then she mentioned something very, very interesting, and this is what I love Roseanne about. She's really annoyed by the fact that Darlene is very progressive. We have to be careful here. We don't want the wrong people to say the wrong things about this. But she did say, your generation made everything too politically correct. And this says when she mentions the fact that Darlene is not educating her kid right, meaning she's giving in too much to every choice her child makes. What do you think about this point, Debbie?
Personally, if that kid had been in my house, honestly, a dunking under the sink would have been appropriate. And then some. No, just the disrespect. I couldn't believe how bad that kid was, that Harris. I wanted to smack her. I mean, she's the kind of kid that, parents in the old days would have smacked across the face for, I'm sorry, for acting that disrespectful. She went over the line and then some. But yeah, Roseanne, Darlene did bring up the fact that, she's not your child. You can't do this. But yeah, she is your grandmother and she's living in your house. I'm just going by old school values. I think Roseanne has a right to, I don't know if she had the right to dunk her head into the sink, but I do believe that she has a right to co-parent because the child is her grandparent child and the way she was treating her. Darlene should have taken away that self. Forget the passwords. I hope she took everything. They don't really say if they took her cell phone and the laptop and everything. But, oh yeah. I don't know if that grounding would have been enough.
Yeah, I see. No, they did take the passwords to everything. I mean, the episode ends with Roseanne, well, before the last scene, Roseanne is on the bed with Dan and Darlene. Darlene has a computer on her lap and she has all the passwords. And so they all three of them want to kind of see what Harris is up to online. So I do believe she got all her passwords.
I guess it all depends
Roseanne
on how
also,
you were raised.
Yeah, it depends how you were raised, yeah. Roseanne does apply a good dose of self-humor as well when she kind of makes fun of herself. When Roseanne Barr makes fun of Roseanne, what is she, Roseanne Harris? No, Connor, Roseanne Connor, oh my God. When Roseanne Barr makes fun of Roseanne Connor by allowing Roseanne Connor to not know what Etsy is, by kind of saying Betsy instead of Etsy, she does allow the Connor character to be old. She allows her to be a little bit outside of what the new young generation is kind of all about, even though Etsy ain't even the young generation yet anymore. I mean, it's been around for a while. So Etsy has been around for a minute. But the fact that Roseanne doesn't know what it is kind of allows us, or allows well, first of all, what does this mean? It means that all of those people that make those stupid videos out there throwing shade at Roseanne for, always having to be right, always having to be correct, so hence saying that she's not a cool character to follow, not a correct character to follow. I don't agree with that. And this little example, Betsy Etsy, really proves to us that Roseanne Barr, does allow Roseanne Connor to not be right, not always be the one that knows best. So there's a lot of these moments sprinkled throughout the show, and we must pay attention to these details, because a writer, when they write the show, every single sentence matters. Nothing is left to coincidence and chance. Everything is calculated very precisely. So again, it's a lot of people that decide to deem the show leftist, rightist, whatever you want, that they kind of decide to fade out and zoom out certain aspects of the show rather than other aspects, just because it suits their own agenda. And that's very incorrect. If you're going to analyze a show like this, you gotta absorb the whole thing. the 180 to 360 degrees, the whole spectrum of it, if you really want to dive into it. You can't just take out a little snippet here and a little snippet there and edit out the thing in between and then attach the two parts. That doesn't work. But I digress. All right, so what else do I have? The hillbilly word gets thrown around quite a bit. And again, yes. And here we have this kind of showcasing the economical position, the criticism towards a family like this, the misunderstanding. Oftentimes, it's a word that is so easy to throw around towards anybody who is in any sort of difficulty. This episode, how unfair it is. Also, to kind of give certain negative connotations to words or using words in certain situations, how hurtful it can be and how wrongly it can be used. Roseanne twists it around again and makes it into something humorous, but nevertheless, the word hillbilly has been thrown around quite a bit. And she plays, and this is where I wanted to end with, and then I'm done with
recapping.
Thank you. And then I'm done with the recapping of the episode. Why hillbilly? The joke, the twist is at the end. Harris is taking a shower, and Roseanne is like, "Get out of the shower! I need to go now." And then Harris is like, "Wait," or whatever. And then all of a sudden, Roseanne just enters the shower cabin. The shower curtain. She moves the shower curtain, and she's in the shower with Harris. And Harris screams, and then Roseanne changes her accent and goes very like that, and she says, "Well, you're not used to seeing your grandmother naked. Am I not pretty enough for you?" Stuff like that. And then the episode ends. So there you have that kind of hillbilly joke ending with a twist, and the episode ends there.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie, it's you. Go.
It's me. Where do I go from there? Like I said, I have to go back to the beginning still about what was said. I'm sorry. The media was saying that this show was so lowbrow that it only appealed to those in lower socioeconomic backgrounds or that were uneducated. They did not see that people who do have an education can enjoy this type of humor. I thought that was very insulting, and that was liberal media, of course, saying that. And then Mr. MAGA also decided to say that he was responsible for the ratings. I don't believe any of that. I don't think they know who the Nielsen families really are at this point, who's actually was watching that. Because I've been a Nielsen household and I know how it works. You can't really get a grasp on the ratings. That's just a guesstimate.
But in fact, sorry if I interrupt you, Roseanne. In the 90s there was an episode where Roseanne becomes a Nielsen family.
Yes, they had the box.
And they analyze the situation, and they do say in that episode that people are not chosen randomly. They choose a particular type of person because they can manipulate that particular type of person. So how has your experience been as a Nielsen family? I mean, because they couldn't manipulate you, obviously.
No, I just...
cookie.
They sometimes do the boxes for people for a long period of time. They mainly wanted... When I did it like 5 times in 1 year. And... it was a written diary. You had to write down whether you watched it on, because things have changed. You had to write down, did you watch it on a DVR? Did you watch it, did you watch, they want to account for every single hour of every day. If you didn't watch any TV, you had to make a big X and put a line down for all those hours. They wanted to know the station, the local station and whatnot. In the TV shows, that were watched. And if you were just paying attention, or that if you were actively watching them, or that the stations were, that you were, what did I just say?
You were just not focused, not concentrated on what was playing, or if you
Yeah,
were really engaged with the program.
the TV was just on, yes, and you were doing the dishes or something somewhere else in the house. Yeah. Um, but it felt good. It kind of felt like, I got the power. I got the power. I can make this show go away. Duck Dynasty, because I don't watch it. No, I'm sorry. That's just the kind of things that were going through my head when I had that. But yeah, I guess you can't cheat. Well, she cheated though. They were all of a sudden watching the Discovery Channel and the Learning trying to show the Nielsen's that people who are, because they've always referred to themselves as poor white trash, the Connor family,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So they were, trying to show that they could watch that they like to watch highbrow things as well. But that's the way the media flipped it, though. They took the family of the Connors and said those are the people who are watching Roseanne and are responsible for the success of this TV series that has been rebooted. Okay, so what's your excuse of what the people who watch Twin Peaks are then? What about the X-Files? Do we ever hear anything about that? And the X-Files actually brought up Trump, I believe.
But I think the only reason why is because none of these other shows had such strong numbers in terms of viewership. I think that's the only, because nobody, as they announced the return of Roseanne, the people who know what Roseanne Barr stands for and what her choices have been, her life choices have been in the past 20 years, they knew what to expect. But there was none of this commotion, political commotion going on prior to the premiere. And when the premiere premiered, it was still no issue. The issue began when the ratings kicked in, when the 23 million, well, first it was 18 million, then it jumped up to 23 million. When those numbers kicked in, that's when everything exploded. If those numbers had those numbers not kicked in, we would not have this situation right now. We wouldn't have these sick interviews on news on both sides, and both type of news, from liberal to conservative to Republican to Democrat, everything news. They would not be so obsessing about this. But the big mistake is, again, them pointing out, okay, the numbers are huge and the numbers are middle America, and this is the type of voters that vote for certain people rather than other people. And in all of this crazy fog, which is to me fog, Roseanne still keeps calm, cool, and collected and keeps saying, I didn't change in these 20 years. You changed. You went extreme in one direction or the other. Mm-hmm. You're now using me for this or that purpose, but I never changed. And I really like that statement. I like the fact that, and that it's true. I felt no change in her tone, in her language, in her humor, in the tires now than she did 20 years ago. Nothing changed. To me, she is the same. Everybody around her kind of is going more bananas than they did before. And this is also why I get back to this comment that she makes about Darlene, like, oh, you went all politically correct. You know my channel, Debbie. I've been repeating this since years. Political correctness is killing freedom of speech. I've been saying this so much, and I keep repeating it, and I'll never stress enough to repeat it over and over and over again. And another great example is Absolutely Fabulous, when Jennifer Saunders, who created Absolutely Fabulous, it's a TV show and also a movie, for those of you who don't know, started in the 90s and went on through till 2 years ago when the movie came out. Jennifer Saunders really actively said in an interview, guys, the type of humor we could get away with, she has to say that today. In the 90s, it wasn't an issue. But she said the type of humor we could get away with in the 90s, we could not get away with it today because of political correctness. So they had to tone down a lot of the writing of what she wanted to really implement in the movie because of political correctness. She still went the extra mile and did certain things that were deemed not politically correct, but she didn't go that extra mile, which made the show in the 90s so special. Not going that extra mile is what made the movie a success. So there is still this need. People out there still want that razor sharp humor, sarcasm, satire, but it's becoming almost something to like bannable today. But if you ban something like that, you ban freedom of expression. And when you ban freedom of expression, you ban freedom of choice. And slowly, bit by bit, you take away liberties from human beings. And once we're torn away from our freedom, what is left is a dictatorship. So we have to be very careful on both ends. All of y'all's, from liberals to Republicans, whatever you want to call yourselves, both of you have to be very careful. I'm none of you. I'm not on one side nor on the other. I'm nowhere. I'm an alien. I'm on a planet somewhere else. And
he's on now.
I'm only for love. I always end every video by saying never give up on love, because that's the only unifying force. It's the only hope we have for a future. And so all of you be very careful when you judge a show like Roseanne, because what you do, a show like this is very powerful because it's a mirror to society. And by criticizing it the way you guys do, you just show your face. You don't in any sort of way end up shaming or throwing shade at Roseanne. You just show your true faces, and your true faces are pretty spooky. Just ourselves. Thank God we have freedom of expression, so you get a chance to say whatever you want to say. But be warned, because people like me, I was telling this to Debbie, I forgive, but I never forget. Never. Never. And that's a burden in my life. I have elephant memory, and I never forget.
Yep.
I digress yet again.
You're not digressing. I want to share something. This phone call I had last night that has to do with this. Somebody was speaking. This is a person that I am an acquaintance with that I've known for a long time, though. And this just goes to show what's still going on in America. They were talking about the show Jesus Christ Superstar that was on Sunday night. And what's Chrissy Teigen's husband's name? He played Jesus in the show. And then he brought this person, yes, it was a male friend, brought up the fact, oh, yes, they've got these biracial babies. I can't stand that. White women dating black men. I just can't stand that. And then the N-word was thrown around, and I'm just sitting there flabbergasted that these words are coming out of his mouth. And I said to him, well, you really shouldn't watch the new Roseanne then. He goes, why is that? I said, Roseanne has a black grandchild. Well, I never liked her anyway. She's just this big fat old whatever. But that was my experience last night on the phone. Yeah. So these views are all around us. Some people are more vocal than others about how they feel. But you don't know what the person next to you really is thinking until they spit it out.
Yes, but I always say it's painful, but I always say the truth is liberating. It might be painful in that moment, but it frees you. It's not a freezing, but it's freeing. So you are free once you know that truth. Once you know who you're really dealing with, you're pretty quick with the math. You can figure out there's still hope for this person. Maybe they're just passing through some weird phase, or are they always like this? And then if they are, I just move on. as painful as it is.
But it's just disgusting to hear that kind of talk. I'm sorry, to me.
Yeah, it's painful because it's pure hatred.
Exactly.
Without any foundation. It's just hatred for the sake of hatred, you know, and it's really sad because it dehumanizes that person that is hating. It dehumanizes that person completely. It reduces them of everything human that they have. And I'm not saying what is left over is an animal, because as we know, animals can love much more than humans can. So I'm not comparing a dehumanized person with an animal. No, I'm comparing a dehumanized person with something that doesn't have a soul. Because if you can breed so much hatred inside of your heart, then you don't have a heart to begin with. Then you have some other type of container that you're feeding off of to create all that hatred. And that's heartbreaking because for the person like us who we love.
I'm accepting. I am so accepting of, and I have been since I was a young child. I think those are things you were taught. A lot of people grow up, if you grow, well, you can unteach yourself those things as well. I mean, you may grow up with some parents that have racist issues, or whatever, but you can, once you get out in the world yourself and start thinking for yourself, then you can realize, wow, they're just very ignorant.
Yes, you can. Of course, there's hope. And some people just grow up and just wake up and understand the difference. What is this? Cookie Monster? Yeah, Cookie Monster. Hi, everybody.
I have a friend.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I told you I was stubborn and I was persistent today. So here's my Taurus the Bull, because I am the Taurus the Bull. My persistence.
He kept you going.
He kept me going. Yes.
Oh gosh. But what do you think about this episode? I mean, Mark was missing. So we didn't, like, it's like every episode, because they only had 9 episodes for this season. So I guess they kind of give every character a spotlight per episode. So last episode, Mark had his spotlight. This episode, Harris had her spotlight. So what do you think about the episode?
What do I think about Harris, or what do I think?
No, the episode 3 in general, but then also Harris, sure.
Yeah, I think it just showed how a lot of teenagers are actually behaving, because this is nothing new. I've seen this before. It's a complete turnaround, a lack of disrespect towards their parents. Maybe it's some lenient parenting that did that. But I'm also wondering, okay, we haven't really broached the subject of what happened between Darlene and David. Harris talks about wanting to move back to Chicago, but she's going to live with friends. Where's David, her father?
Well, they couldn't afford to pay him the fee because he's a Big Bang Theory actor. Yeah, big one now.
I heard he's going to be in the last episode, though.
They could. I guess they could only afford him for 1 episode, or his contractual obligations allowed him to only be a guest star. Since now he's exclusive to Big Bang Theory, probably he was not allowed to kind of rejoin the full cast of Roseanne, which is a shame because he belongs in Roseanne. He doesn't belong in the Big Bang Theory.
But Chuck Lorre, or whatever, the one that did Roseanne for a while, was one of the producers. I think she fired. Produces the Big Bang Theory and also did 2.5 Men and everything. So there's kind of like a full circle there with a casting, you know.
Yeah, there is.
A la David Lynch.
Very.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you like the episode?
I did, but it also, I've seen that, like I said, I've seen that, like Dan said in the first episode, I haven't seen that in 20 years. I see that stuff going on all the time, those teenagers acting like that to their parents. And, you you just want to knock their heads together. I'm sorry.
So this is very much true to what the times are today.
Oh, that disrespect. Yeah, that kind of disrespect and everything. Yes, I think Harris is your typical teenager. I do.
So Roseanne, the show dealt with this topic on a very modern way and very kind of with the times.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because I also had the feeling that they were not shying away from anything. They really approached the issue because, I mean, she was stealing. She was being disrespectful to the grandmother. She was lying to her mother. She was not paying attention to the times, like when to come home, not come home, when to eat, when not to. Like, she literally did everything wrong in terms of lacking respect.
She was acting like the parents. See, the kids, you give them an inch, they take the mile, that kind of thing. Yeah. She had way too much freedom and no restrictions on her behavior. Darlene,
yeah, so Roseanne, what did she say? What did she say about the cage? Living in a cage makes you happiest?
Oh, we have another Taurus. Sorry. Gail's a Taurus.
Oh, Gail is a Taurus. Two Taurus, two Tauri.
Woo-hoo! Tauri. Yes, we're stubborn.
Julia says, hey, Dacob. Hi, Julia. If you're still watching.
And Meek told you several times hello, Dacob.
Oh, hi, Meek. How you doing, Meek?
But, you know, I always...
Oh, what is that? I hear myself.
That's because my tablet turns you on automatically.
Ah, yeah, and we have a little bit of buffer time. Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we expect for next week? And first of all, prediction. What do you think? Because I think all of this politicizing of Roseanne is going to end with this episode. I mean, they were a bit rough on Harris, so that might get a lot of slander. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people saying that Roseanne overdid it, how she attacked Harris and with the water and stuff. But other than that, I think people were expecting her to top it this week, but she didn't in terms of, you know, politics and stuff. So except for that fleeting 1 second of Make America Great Again cap hanging in the storage room, there was nothing else there. So I don't think that in terms of ratings, this episode is going to be as huge as the premiere.
No, it won't be as huge as the premiere, but I'm hoping that all the huffing and puffing will cool down, because anybody who's watched will see, okay, it was just that first episode. They just had to get that out of the way. And now we're back to, you know, dealing with issues much as they were in the 90s of everyday life.
And I watched some YouTube video from some girl who's like very progressive and, you know, forward thinking, very young girl. And
I think I saw the same one.
Yeah, but she also said that she was like, well, very young, I don't know, but like she said she watches Roseanne, like she watched Roseanne, the original series, and she was like shocked at how she did not like Roseanne, how she didn't like Roseanne's attitude, how aggressive and abusive she was to Jackie, and how Roseanne always has to have right, how she's always right, and how in the show it's also written that way. And so now she wants to dislike even the Roseanne from the 90s because of that. And I thought that was very unfair. I forgot her name, this girl, but
I know we watched quite a few videos.
When I started watching the video, I thought to myself, okay, she's really intelligent. But then the more the video went on, the more I thought, oh, what a pity. She really got it, you know, wrong. And she's getting like so fired up, rallied up about something that's not really there to begin with. But it's so fascinating to me as a phenomenon in general to see all of these people using their imagination for all the wrong reasons, but still using their imagination to find things, to find whatever they want in anything. It's like, if I want to see a certain agenda, and I'm going to make a video about it, and I'm going to, you know, talk about it on the news. I'm going to invite other intellectuals or non, and we're going to have a huge debate about it. And I mean, like, they're even saying now Hollywood has to wake up, because now Hollywood finally has to acknowledge a working class, because all the sitcoms up to now, most of them, the working class has not been acknowledged, and hence that's why Roseanne was a huge success. I don't know this because, I mean, I'm not a producer in Hollywood, so I can't tell you what sort of politics go on in the background. But to me, if the writing is good, if the casting is good, if the actors are good, if the idea is good, it's going to sell. And it doesn't matter if you have already a preconceived notion of, like, little rules like set in place, how you have to build up a proper sitcom for it to be politically correct or incorrect and sell it. And Roseanne is really very, very honest about what she wants to say. She doesn't lie about it. She says what she wants to say, makes it very clear, brings it out, doesn't try to hide it or to kind of make it look prettier than it actually is. It's really in your face. It's very direct and very honest. And this is something that clicks with people. People are sick and tired of the truth being hidden with these veils of politeness, of it's going to be okay, don't worry about it. You know, you've been diagnosed with cancer, and then the doctor comes and tells you, don't worry about it. No, I want to worry about it. Let me worry about it. How much time do you give me? Like, spit it out. Listen, if you're the type of person who doesn't want to know, that's okay too. But if you are the type of person that wants to know, then you have the right to know. And I do believe that quite a few shows out there don't deliver the truth. They really sugarcoat everything. As much as I love Full House, it's so cheeky and cheesy and cringy in a way, and now the Fuller House, I'm like, seriously? I mean, I watch everything because I want to know everything about pop culture and culture in general. So I'm going to watch literally everything you throw at me because I want to see, I want to understand, I want to learn. But Fuller House really got me thinking, like, wow, they're really trying to relive this kind of 80s, 90s version of Full House, which was also super like, hey, yay, like totally gaga. And now it's back again with the same attitude and this like politeness and niceness and this kind of almost the borderline sick naivete, innocence. Like they're overacting dumb, and they get away with it. But people are not like that. So I don't know, but I also ask myself when I go to the movies, sure, I watch the dramas. Usually I watch them at home. But if I go to the movies, if I spend all that money to watch a movie, I do want to also forget my reality. That's why I like my Star Wars. That's why I like to go to watch science fiction, and I go to a movie where there's a totally different reality. And I just get to kind of turn off my own brain for 2 hours and I just get to kind of relax.
Yes.
I get that. But when I'm at home watching sitcoms and they're brainwashing me constantly, sugarcoating everything, that's scary to me because long term, it kind of reprograms you in a weird way. And then you go outside and you're like acting like the actors of Fuller House, but then the people outside don't react to you the way other actors react to the actors in Fuller House. And you're like, I
don't know what reality that shows in. I want to bring up something though. Okay. The show that could never be made now, and will it ever be able to be made again? Something of that nature. All in the Family. Do you know the Archie Bunker? I know I'm dating myself and I don't care. I know what age I'm turning this month, but I mean, he was the biggest bigot, and the things that were said and the discussions that were had, I think it was of the times. But that show couldn't. Show was in the early 70s, probably to the early 80s. I don't know. Maybe it was on 10 years. I have no idea. But anybody who watched that, they could never make that show. They couldn't have made that show in the 90s. They could not have made that show in the 2000s. Here's like, what is it, 30, 40 years ago? They can't make a show like that. What does that say about our society that we can't be that honest? But we could 40 years ago.
Yeah. No, we can't. We really keep artificializing our existences more and more. You know, we are becoming mentally that Barbie that we played with. We are, and heaven forbid we were to be ugly. Heaven forbid we were to have some sort of characterization of our facial features, because that doesn't. No, you know, no. Operate it. Heaven forbid. Like, lift it, change it, switch it around. You know, just keep smiling. And I mean, inside, as a society, most of us are rotten, and we are rotting. But the outside looks perfect.
Well,
this is a big.
You do.
Well, yes.
Super G is always fabulous. We know that.
No, okay. Dorian Gray aside.
Yes.
And the portrait I have hidden in my closet.
Which is what I brought up, yes, about Bev. I said she's got to have a photo in her attic. I think I wrote that to you on Instagram.
Yes, you did. I mean, Beverly cannot be 90 years old and look, I mean, on that photo, I said she looks younger than she did 20 years ago. I mean, that's insane. I can't wait to see her.
Yeah. Definitely Dorian Gray.
Yeah, Melinda says we are all supposed to be happy and perfect.
That's right. And we're supposed, no, it's the wholesomeness. It's the wholesomeness. It's Leave It to Beaver. Fuller House. It's like, oh, it's like a 50s sitcom or something, or Happy Days. You know, one of those ones that'll show on Nick at Night where everything just ends perfectly at the end, you know? Everybody's just like so understanding and so this.
Yeah. Stepford Wives.
Soma.
Yes. Cake just for you. Mr. Ad Friendly. There you go. He comes out at some time.
Yes, Mr. Ad Friendly.
But that's exactly why I created him. That's exactly that point. It's about like everything falling apart. We keep a smile. It's not all good, and you're allowed to say when it's not good. And that's where Roseanne nails it. She says it like it is. She says it's not good. She says they're struggling. Their family is suffering, struggling to make ends meet. And I applaud that honesty, and I applaud the fact that integrity, that integrity has remained integral, and they keep showing it and saying it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy with episode 3. A bit shocked how brutal it gets at times, but then again, that's life too. I mean, you guys don't know, but Debbie and I were already preparing for this a couple of hours prior because of finding the right, anyway. But so we were watching together something else actually, and you know, there was a shooting at the YouTube studio. Then there was this other, which is horrible, and actually I am a YouTuber, so all my love and sympathy to all of the hardworking YouTuber people that work at YouTube in LA, that today were totally struck by this. I don't even know why this person started shooting. I don't know, but
yeah, a woman. This time a woman.
A woman. This lady, yeah. And as far as I understood, she committed suicide. She shot herself at the end. Well, that's what they said, but we don't know.
Yeah.
But apparently, thank goodness, nobody else was shot.
Okay. It's time to something. Sorry, I have to do my other job there.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah. Anyway, cheers, Debbie. Debbie is on it.
The moderate treats. Yes.
Wow, she's amazing. She's like multitasking as we speak, sweetie darling, sweetie, sweetie. But more than that, another story. I mean, all stories are horrible because the news seems to just tell us all horrible stories. But there's this other story of this other lady who literally tasered or wanted to taser her son because he didn't want to go to church.
I heard that today because I was watching when I was waiting for this to come on. The way Dacob's got me streaming. For 4 hours, I was listening to the Pennsylvania newscast. And they were bringing I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to know the weather in Pennsylvania. I mean, and these commercials, these political commercials that were coming on. Oh my goodness. But yeah, somebody on Easter Sunday tasered her child because the child didn't want to go to church on Easter Sunday. What? Does everybody walk around with a taser too? I mean, I've got a pickaxe in my bear maze, but you know.
I mean, it's crazy, no?
Yeah, and she denied it. So, gosh, I don't know what's going on in the world. It's one chaotic thing after the next. You look at the news, just as a general whole. How many shootings? How many natural disasters are going on? It just seems like it's all the Red Sea is falling back in on the chariot. Sorry, I have to do my little.
No, but it's always been that way, you know. And what is so fascinating to me, I was talking to my mother the other day, and so you know, she's scared about this political situation. She's very worried. And I said to her, but Mom, like when you were, you know, like, weren't you scared? Weren't you afraid in the 80s? Weren't you afraid in the 80s about, you know, Cold War and the this and the that? Oh, Emilio. Hi, Emilio. Oh, hi, Ferna. How you doing, sweetie? Emilio, always very, very Balkan poetically, I'm missing the word. My brain is dead. I need sugar. But anyway, he's being a pessimist, and Mother Earth needs to swallow us all. You go, Emilio.
Mother Earth might, because they're taking away the emissions controls on the cars. Yeah. So we're gonna go back.
We're gonna go ballistic. We're gonna all die.
Okay, let's get rid of the seatbelts too. Oh, I'm sorry. I think the world's gone mad.
Yeah, but I was asking my mom, so I said, like, well, weren't you scared in the 80s, like what with the Cold War and then with all the other wars that were going down? And she's like, there was a different sense of security back then that we do not have today, and that has changed. That's what she says. So she feels more instability today than she did in the 80s.
Yes. This feels more like what I would have seen as the late 60s, I think, because I don't think people were they were too busy partying in the 80s. 80s was a partying decade. They weren't out there protesting and politically active and everything else. People just let Reagan do what he was going to do. I mean, he pretty much ruled the 80s, and there might have been some, but it wasn't covered like this, and people did not get together and really protest.
But wasn't Reagan just like an actor that was used? Because I mean, also Alzheimer's kicked in at a certain point, and he was trying to hide it. And
well, yes, George Bush Sr. ran that presidency, who was also the leader of the CIA in his previous life. So yeah, I believe that Reagan was a figurehead. Absolutely. But all I'm saying is, and the level of violence, wherever there's protesting, whether it's peaceful or not, at some point, the government, be it the riot sticks, are going to come out and somebody's going to get hurt and the violence is going to start. That happened, like, I think it was Kent State or whatever in the late 60s. The tear gas and whatnot, and we've already seen that in this country when the Ku Klux Klan was going, last year. and somebody got killed during a protest. So it's not the 80s. It's more like the 60s. It's more turbulent like the 60s. But that brought a revolution upon us, but not enough of one. So will this bring a revolution?
Yeah, I don't know if this will bring a revolution. I think it will, because we see the uprising of youth. But veering it back to Roseanne, what I did notice also, more of a sense of urgency I did when I watched Roseanne, like the 90s series Roseanne. Maybe because I was younger, but no, not even, because I keep rewatching it. So, you know, it's always on loop. The Golden Girls, Roseanne, and Twin Peaks, those are the three shows that I constantly watch on loop. And the 90s Roseanne gave me more hope than the new ones. And this may be times today. That show now is more scary to me than it was in the 90s. And maybe
it wasn't politically dangerous.
I'm more grown up and I am more aware of the real puns, the real sarcasm, and the real pain behind every joke. Because, you know, when you're little and a certain joke is made, you're more naive about it. But then again, also as a grown up, I can understand also the pain of behind the jokes of the 90s series, and yet the 90s series was less painful to me. And I think because something has to do with the fact that Roseanne and Dan were younger. Now they're more fragile, they're more frail, and they're not afraid to show it in the show. They show that Roseanne is getting older, that she has problems walking, that they fall asleep on the couch all the time. You know, that Dan also has issues.
Yeah.
He has his breathing mask. And this scares me because it brings us closer to death. And it makes it very, 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 very clear to me. It just shows it in my face how frail the situation, how fragile the situation is. And now Roseanne, 20 years later, isn't young like she used to be when she was raising Darlene and Becky. So she has to now struggle double to raise also Harris, with all the extra added pains that she has in her life. And that's what makes the show heavier this time around to me. It makes it more sad. There's a sad that goes beyond the sarcasm that the 90s show had. This show has is tinted with, it's more fragile. And also because technologically speaking, technology has evolved. So the cameras, they used to shoot on film, now they shoot digital. We have high resolution. If you can watch a high-res stream or whatever, or on TV, you see more. There's no beautiful, you know, Roseanne, 90s Roseanne, it has a dreamy filter over it. It's like it's film. That's why we also love Twin Peaks from the 90s, because it was shot on celluloid, and celluloid is grainy, and that graininess creates it detaches you from reality. It literally filters out the reality and places you in a dreamlike state. And we don't have that dream anymore. Roseanne, just like we also did with Twin Peaks, The Return, the new Roseanne has that high definition resolution. You're there with them. It's no dream anymore. Now it's real. And that makes it even scarier to me. So this adds another level of me just admiring the show even more, but also feeling, I laugh at the jokes. Sometimes with tears in my eyes, how funny they are and how wonderfully and beautifully they're written and how beautifully they're delivered by the actors. But there's that sadness in me that just keeps growing when I watch it at the same time. And that's the strength of the show. It's that sadness and the fact that they're not afraid to say that they are suffering, and then they talk about it. I mean, Roseanne Barr is also Jewish, so the writing, the Jews have a wonderful way of laughing about the troubles in life. And I respect that so much. Because that sense of humor, priceless, you know, and there's an understanding about life and an acceptance of the tragedy of life that is very, very, very precious. And I think the Roseanne show really delivers on that respect. And so the sadness is definitely there, but the humor is as well. But it's definitely scarier to me now than it was in the 90s. What do you think, Debbie?
I don't have the fear from the show. I don't know, because I'm older than you. But it is sad. I understand what you're saying. They're fragile, and it shows that they could go at any time. I think because we were losing a lot of people that we looked at back in the 90s, we've recently lost so many greats, starting with David Bowie and Carrie Fisher and blah, blah, blah. The people that we just don't expect them to die. I didn't like Joan Rivers. I mean, it's the whole thing. We just don't expect that. And you see their frailness, and you see they've aged, and the problems they're going through, and probably some of these problems are happening to them in real life. Like you said, breaking that fourth wall, who knows? Roseanne says she has glaucoma. That's why she goes for the doobies, but we know, yeah, that's a good excuse. Works for me. But do I feel a sadness? I don't feel a sadness yet. I'm just still thrilled that my show, gosh darn it, is back on the air. Because I watched her as a stand-up comic, and she was on Carson and everything else, her HBO specials. And I was thrilled when she actually got her own show. And now it's back. I'm just, any little bit of my past that was good, and comes back to me, I'm happy for. And that's what made me so angry, that they had to take my little happiness and turn it into something nasty this past week. Like, no, do not rain on my parade. Do not do that. So that's where my sadness came from, okay? Is that they took my happiness and tried to make it into something very, very negative and nasty. So I've got a different viewpoint on it.
No, I totally understand that. I mean, I'm also super thrilled and happy that it's back. Don't get me wrong. I am enjoying every second of this, but my dark soul also likes to suffer. I also am the type of person who has that aspect of pain where I think I treasure the show just that much more because it has that other side of the medal, of the coin. And as Gail here very cleverly points out, Gail says, perhaps in 20 years, you hope you would be in a better place financially and maybe having some freedom. Yes, that was also painful to me to see that they have not moved on. Not 1 inch. Not 1 single inch. They are still suffering. They're still struggling, but still have a sense of humor. And it just feels more real now because the 20 years have passed and nothing has changed. And I think, Gail, you nailed it on the head there, Gail, because also in the 90s, they had their diner. They were growing. They were getting better. Economy was getting better. Yes. They owned their own business. They were going places slowly, but surely. But then a TV station comes by. Then Roseanne gets a little TV show snippet. There was some beautiful highlights that gave us hope. Right now, there's no hope. Right now, we're at the verge of like world disaster with that family because nobody's happy. Roseanne she's still the flame of the family. She's still keeping that family together because even, they fell asleep on the couch and her and then said, we started watching Wheel of Fortune. We woke up to Jimmy Kimmel and let's do the laundry. And Dan is like, oh, I'm so tired. Let me sleep a little more. And then she like can hardly walk because she's limping. But then she still starts to kind of dance for him and says, hey, I could do the little veil dance for you with the laundry. With the dryer. She's still trying to put in humor there, And then he's like, oh, no, I'll just sleep and imagine you dancing for me in my dreams. He just says it. But don't forget, writers and the way it's written, nothing is by accident. Nothing is by chance. And the fact that they chose to make Dan Connor say, I will sleep and dream of you doing that, that is highly poetic. And a sensitive person like me captures that moment. And I immediately envision him dreaming of her and him being young again and in that position where they could dance all night, where they could enjoy life all night. And that's over. but he still has his dreams, and he's going to lay there because he's super tired, but he's going to dream about her dancing for him. And it almost moves me to tears now that I'm reanalyzing it, because that is that moment where she turns it around and makes a joke, and where we feel lighthearted thanks to her, because she made a joke out of it. And she's still the pillar and the flame of the family center, nucleus. And she says to us, don't worry, everything will be okay. And then she goes in the kitchen, and then the whole tragedy with Harris happens. And that hurt me too, because I was so hateful towards her grandmother. And I'm like, can't you see how many sacrifices she's been through to get, I mean, not far, but she still managed to raise 3 kids. And these kids are now having kids. 4 kids? We're still missing the 4th kid, though. But he's on a boat somewhere, right?
Apparently, yeah.
I still don't know if he's going to come, if the 4th kid will come or not. But I guess he will also show up. Maybe that's going to be one of those surprises. They're keeping it as a surprise. I don't know. Or maybe next week I'm going to say again, the mistake I made last week.
Yes, the phone also is there. Wasn't it yellow in the original series?
It was a beige yellow, yeah.
Brown, but it's really beige now. Where it almost, that's why we didn't notice it, because it blends.
And that, my dear, is the Chanel detail in the show, the beige telephone.
Beige. Yes, I have to pronounce it. It's beige.
It blends. Both begin with a B. Beige equals blends.
Beige blends.
No, it's really, I mean, the more I talk about it and the more I sell it to myself, I really love the show. And I'm really, really, really excited that it's back. I mean, like, we even made a whole segment on my channel just about Roseanne, as we did for Twin Peaks, because just like Twin Peaks, Roseanne is also a very, very important thing for me. I think I wouldn't not another show. It would be Twin Peaks, but Betty White isn't going to reprise as the only living one left. The Golden Girls.
And they can't bring Mary Tyler Moore back either. Sorry. That's where Betty White, I first saw her. Yeah, Mary Tyler Moore's even passed. Betty White and Bev, I guess, are just going to
outlive us all. They're like cockroaches from Hollywood. They will outlive any poison and everything. But yes. I think White is also a person that has a lot of optimism and so much love to give. You know, she's a huge animalist. She loves animals. She's just a very, very loving and caring person. Also, at times, too professional, because you can't catch her off guard at an interview. Never. She's old school Hollywood royalty that always smiles, always gives good face. Very Madonna, always gives good face, you know, very Vogue. And Greta Garbo gave good face, yeah. And you'll never catch her off guard. And this is something that annoys me as well, because I want to see Betty White. Like, I can't believe she's always like that. She has to have her moments too. But you never saw Betty White in a moment having a fit of any kind. She's always extremely polite, the most professional actress you could imagine. I mean, I saw her live on Hot in Cleveland. I was in this live studio audience, as they say. That woman, she's in her 90s. So she's waiting to get her cue to go on set, to go, you know, to say her line. Oh my God, I mean, she's been acting more than we both have lived together. And she's modest and polite and waits and apologizes in case she goes a little bit, she apologizes for things that I wouldn't apologize for, because I don't even see them as mistakes. But she's so caring of who's in front of her. Always. That just, it amazed me. It made me go, oh my God, I love her so much, because she's just so careful of others. I mean, in those couple of what?
You saw she wasn't.
No, she was not a diva. She was so humble, incredibly humble, like to a degree where she becomes invisible. When she's offset, when she's waiting for her line, she's not like surrounded, but she's invisible. She doesn't want to disturb anybody. But let's go back to Roseanne for a second here, because when I was on the shooting of Two Broke Girls, I was So I had no clue what they were going to shoot that day. Sandra Bernard was there. She was acting in one of her parts, and oh my God, I was so lucky because I was seated totally to the side, but the side of the area where I was seated was going to be the spot where they shot the sushi place where she was. It was right next to me. I geeked out, like totally geeked, because I love Sandra Bernard from the Madonna era all the way to forever. Sandra is just a wonderful, wonderful comedian, but also an incredible sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like doing her thing, and she keeps making mistakes, and then she laughs about herself, and then she's like, "Oh damn it, I can't do this thing." And then they all go upset for a second, and she's alone on the set. And I'm literally on the balustrade on this kind of thing, you know, I'm like leaning on it there. I'm literally the front row to the side. And I'm like in love. I'm just like this, you know, and she catches my eyes, and I'm like this, and I'm like, oh, and she goes,
I've had moments
she
like
winked
that.
at me.
Yeah, I know.
She acknowledged my presence. All of the other actresses from Two Broke Girls, they could not give less of an F about anybody or anything. They were really concerned about nailing the show, and that's it. Sandra interacted. That's old school. She knows the importance of audience, and she understands that connection, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave me something in that moment, and that something was vital. Because, I mean, I'll never forget it my entire life. She forgot it probably already.
How could she forget you?
Well, back then I was like just beginning my YouTube channel, so she had no clue. No clue who I am. Give it time, Sandra. Give it time.
Yeah.
I'll see you again sometime.
You will.
But it really made my day because she acknowledged, like, she showed me in that moment that she sees things beyond just what's given to her. And I like that. And I think the entire cast of Roseanne, in many respects, plays on that as well. There's something, I mean, I would love to go, you know, if they're expanding the show, I'm sure next season is going to have more than 9 episodes. It's probably going to be 12 or it's going to be 20. I don't know. Depends what sort of contract.
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? But it's probably going to be easier next season to get a chance to see a live filming. By the way, Roseanne, if you're watching, I want to be in your show.
Tickets. You want to what?
I want to act in your show. Give me just anything.
I want to be
Debbie and Dacob, the 2 Ds in the R show.
Yes. We're going to have to come up with another acronym. We did come up with one in Instagram chat. The MRGA. Make Roseanne.
The Murga. But yeah, anyway, so yes, I want to be the Roseanne show. Ferna Barragan Cervantes says, I remember watching reruns as a kid, and at first I didn't like it. I was like, I didn't like it. I was like, when will the cartoons come on? But it grew on me, and I understood more of the humor and subtext. Now it all comes back. Full circle moment. Oh, that's beautiful, Ferna. Yeah, I hope you're going to enjoy the new season because it really brings back a lot of everything. It's just... It fills our hearts, both Debbie's and mine. Gail says Debbie could be a long-lost sister of Roseanne.
Of Roseanne? She didn't specify who, did she?
Well, yeah, I think she meant Roseanne.
Do you mean because Roseanne, Gail? Crickets.
Yeah, we're waiting. No, because we're like we're like 20 seconds delayed. So
I know. Oh, okay, of Roseanne. I was starting to watch Roseanne's documentary that you spoke of her running for president. So I saw her sisters in that documentary. And her mother, I believe, was in that too.
So she has sisters in real life, so you could definitely, so you could definitely be one of the long lost sisters. Do you have any experience in acting?
I was in school musicals. I've always performed since I was 4 years old in one way or another.
Oh, there you have it. Rosie, listen, Debbie, natural born. And I've done acting in my life. Oh, yes. But I've signed so many non-disclosure agreements.
I've seen some of your acting.
Okay. Well, don't spill if you know anything, don't spill the beans here.
I'm not. It was a very quick scene, but yes.
Oh my God, what was it?
I'm not going to say. I told you, mum's the word with this chick.
Oh my God, but what did you see? Okay, well, you'll tell me later. Oh, geez, Louise. Well, guys, anyway, I think we're done for today anyway, because like I wanted to make this one shorter than last time so that more people can actually not be afraid of clicking. How many minutes did we go on? I can't even see the length of this video right now.
I can't see anything on this chat.
But guys, I mean, first of all, Debbie, thank you so much for coming on today again and for being so beautiful. And look at her, guys. She is wonderful. The makeup, the dress,
it's a bomber jacket.
I don't know, or jewelry.
Hmm?
Real jewelry or costume jewelry?
Costume, very costume.
It's gorgeous. I'm loving the whole combination, and with the like almost like a touch of juicy couture with the zip, the top with the.
It's a bomber jacket. Yeah.
I know it's a bomber jacket, but it's in that kind of velvety chenille.
It's quilted. It's quilted velvet. Yeah, I love. It's my quilted Yeah, I don't have a quilted Chanel bag, but I have a something soft I can play with.
Oh, Emilio says Dacob is a great actor with a tongue out. Shush. And Emilio says Debbie is serving today.
Right.
You know what I'm thinking? Maybe we should push it one step forward. Next week it should be Gianni Versace inspiration.
Versace. Oh, what do I have?
We got to do something like completely color.
Color?
Well, yeah, Gianni is very much about poppy colors, strong, saturated colors, very intense.
I have some Versace fragrance, but that's I do have a Versace inspired shirt, but it is at the moment, and I only see at the moment a few sizes too small, so it would not.
Okay, or we do it, or we keep doing the episode prior. So this episode, they were all about getting their hair wet and showering and everything. Maybe we could do the towels on the heads again next week.
The towels on the heads. Oh my God. Well, I had masks, yes. But
no, because I'm thinking, because now I have like the jacket she had on last week, and you're doing Isabella Rossellini realness. I don't know. We could think about it.
Yes, we'll think about it. And this was not planned. We do not talk about what we're going to wear or do anything like that. Dacob and I have. Yeah, it just happens, okay?
No, but we just did now. Now we're talking about next week.
Exactly. But we haven't previously done that.
No, we have not previously done that. That is true. This was really coincidental. And Debbie asked me, like, are there going to be any special props today? I was like, no, I'm literally so busy doing stuff. And then, bam, it just happened. Both very Dolce & Gabbana realness. You don't know what it is? Look it up. I had to have my Madonna moment.
That's right.
Look at that decollage.
I have the Dolce & Gabbana style. Let's see. of course, my bra is going to show, but it showed last week too. Everybody knows I had a red bra on last week, but yes, I wanted the neckline to be, but it's cold in here today, so therefore the jacket.
I'm loving the Dolce & Gabbana realness. Well, guys, that was our Roseanne show for today, our recap, our review. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, thumb it up. Thumb us up, and let us know what you, yes, and let us know what you think about this video and Roseanne and the episode number 3 of Roseanne, The Return, season 10 in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, but do wish to, please consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube's. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Super Dacob, all spelled together. Debbie, where can we find you on social media?
Sometimes I post to Instagram and sometimes I'm on Twitter. Right now, I'm not completely active, but you never know. Debbie could pop up with a channel and nobody would know.
Well, how do people find you? What's your name on the Instagrams?
At Invisible Girl, or it's Invisible Girl 422.
Invisible Girl 422. You heard it here first.
422. Yes, not 422. Sorry.
And on Christian Mingle, Emilio says. I didn't get that pun.
What did he say? And on Christian Mingle. Oh my goodness. No, I do not belong to any dating sites. Christian Mingle or any of the other ones. So there. You know what a dating site would be like in this town? You'd run into the person in the date. You put your face on a dating site. You'd run into anybody in the grocery store. That's how small this place is, whether you wanted to or not. I mean,
oh my God,
recognized. That's scary.
Like, hey, I saw you online on the dating app.
Yeah, exactly. So
no, we don't want that. I mean, somebody might want that, but we don't, because we're better than that. No, we're not, but it doesn't matter.
We're better than that, but it doesn't matter.
And apropos dreams, never give up on love, guys. Love you all. Bye, Emilio. Bye, Gail. Bye, Melly. Bye, everybody. Big hearts. And see you all next week. Don't forget to tune in. It's going to be again on Tuesday, Wednesday, depending if you're which continent you are. But in 1 week, we'll be back with episode 4 of Roseanne, the Recap. Love you all. Bye. Bye, Debbie.
Bye. Thank you.